matter what, people will commit to misunderstanding you. What's most important is your commitment to understanding yourself. Hello, you guys. My name is Nkiriko Madani, known as NK, and welcome back to Misunderstood. You are stressed and need help to get through it. Today, we are talking all about stress, where our stress comes from, but also ways to de-stress and find our way through the dark. I think this episode is perfectly timed because it's coming off of a very stressful period of time I have had. As a lot of you know who have been listeners of the pod for this whole year, I really try to come from personal experience to be able to effectively give advice and learnings to help others. I think that is my favorite part of this podcast, is that I can impart things that I have gone through and things that I've learned, and it is a safe space for myself and you to feel comforted in what you are going through. But before we get into today's episode, take some time right now to rate this show, Misunderstood, 5 stars. I'm so happy with the viewership. I'm happy with how many people truly resonate with this podcast, and it's so exciting to meet people in real life and get DMs and messages about how this podcast has already helped so many people in the short time it has been a podcast. Something free and easy you can do to support the continuation of this podcast is rating the show 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. Thank you so much. All right, like I said, today we are talking all about stress. We are in the thick of November. Something about this time period, I tend to get stressed quite easily. However, I also have a lot of things going on and a lot of things I have been working through that we will definitely detail as examples in this episode. But first, before all that, I really want you to ask yourself right now, where does your stress stem from? This is a question I want you to ponder this entire episode, because it's really important for you to dig down deep into the crevices of your brain and really start to understand, where does your stress come from? Because when we know where our stress comes from, we know how to override it and we know how to overcome it. And also just remember that we cannot control our environment. We cannot control anybody's actions. We cannot control what anybody or any environmental happenings happen to us. We really cannot. There are so many things that happen in a day-to-day that you cannot control. But what you can control, what you can always control, is how you react to it. I'm saying this for you, but I'm also equally saying it for me, because there are so many things that have happened in my life, but especially recently, that have drove me up the wall. I have just been at a very high level of stress, and actually I've been so stressed that one of my eyes have been twitching nonstop because of it. And I went to the eye doctor. She said my eye health is fine, but she said you really need to work on your stress. And she said it with love, but that was a wake-up call. I have been so stressed out lately. And right before I started recording this podcast episode, kid you not, I got in bed, I got all set up, and then in my peripheral, in the corner of my eye, I see something moving. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Mind you, I'm in my room. So what is happening right now? I look to my right and I see a tiny little bug, and I hate bugs. I freaking hate bugs. And I obviously could not just continue to record and act like it wasn't there. That is now diverting all my attention to it. And I had to completely pivot and make sure that this bug is out of my room. And it absolutely is. We handled it. That was just another really random stressful moment that I just encountered right before recording this podcast. That's the type of shit you can't make up. But here we are. We are past that one stressful moment. And another thing I have to say at the top of this episode is stress is temporary. Every single bout of stress you have is temporary. Think about everything that you've ever been stressed about. I'm not talking about your current stressors. I'm talking about your past stressors, and emphasis on the past. They are behind you. In the moment though, think about how stressed you were about those occurrences. You were so stressed, it was all consuming, and you felt like you had no way out. But here you are listening to this podcast and it is behind you. You need to remember every single thing you are stressed about is ultimately temporary. I know it doesn't feel like it in the moment because we are all so consumed with what we are going through right now. And it feels almost debilitating to go through something that you feel like you can't get through. And you feel like this is something that is winning over you. You are helpless over that occurrence. That is not true. Today, we are going to talk about the ways you can de-stress and the ways you can really pivot your mindset as well as pivot your overall attitude toward what you're going through to get through it, but to just be an overall happier person. That is something that is super important for me to advocate on this podcast, making sure that we take care of ourselves, we understand our triggers, and we understand who we are to our core, because remember, it is no one's job to understand us more than we understand ourselves. All right, so I thought the best way to go through this episode with you guys is to just start detailing all the things I've been stressed about in the last month and a half, walk you guys through what I've learned from them. I think those are the best ways to really illustrate how to improve in a situation is by hearing someone else go through something and how they got through it. There are a ton of things on this list. I don't even know if I'm going to get through them all, but let's just see how far we get. So first and foremost, there was a brand collaboration that I had on the books for about 2 months now. This brand is a brand who actually reached out to me at the beginning of this year, but they had a very low rate. And I always stand on business and I always stand on my worth. Let the brand know I cannot do this brand collab at this rate. Feel free to reach out when your rates increase. Now, fast forward to present day, they reached out saying that they had an increased budget, settled on an amount, and we settled on the deliverables. However, with any brand collaboration, and if anybody's listening to this who is in freelancing, brand collabs in that world, you know, or you need to know that you never do any work without a contract, a signed and countersigned contract. And countersigned means that they sign it after you sign it. So it is legally binding. We have written email exchanges about this brand collaboration. We talked about the nuances and what I wanted in the contract, what they were willing to compromise on, back and forth. Once I received the contract, I reviewed it, was really shocked because there were a lot of things that I told them via email that I wanted in the contract or to make sure that things weren't in the contract, etc., etc. So I made a ton of comments and edits within the document, sent it back to them and said, hey, these are the points that I need updated in the contract to be able to comfortably move forward with signing. So mind you, we are not at the signing point yet. I had to review the damn contract, of course. I'm not just going to sign something blindly. The representative who had been working with me on this contract responded via email saying, well, we went over all of these points via email, so this shouldn't be a problem. Mind you, it doesn't matter really what we go through via email. It's what's on the contract that matters. It is what is on the contract that is legally binding. An email is not. A contract is. In a way, I felt very gaslit, unfortunately, with this representative. And I told her, until I review a contract, nothing is set in stone. Also, a lot of what they were saying in the contract was essentially trying to control the narrative of the video. Mind you, I've been in this field for 5 years now. I understand that when a brand comes to you wanting to do a brand collaboration with you, there are certain things that you have to abide by for FTC laws, for brand continuity. I understand that. It's not about that. But to go to a creator and then try to completely change how they operate and how they put forth their creation into the world, that is not okay. She essentially was trying to say that I have to follow an exact script of what I need to say. I had to put certain things in certain placements that I have never done with any brand. So no, I am not going to give you that opportunity when I've never done that with any brand. That is very much going against my authenticity as a creator. And there are so many things that I will not do. I do not care about a check. Well, I do care about a check, but I will not forego my authenticity and who I am and my platform and my reputation for a check. I won't. Long story short, we are now in a very heated entanglement via email. It has now been escalated to the supervisors of that brand. Here's where the stress part comes. And yes, I had to tell these stories so that you understand where I'm going with it. The stress part of the story came from me feeling as though I am being threatened with the amount of money I'm making as a creator. This representative did say via email that I can just keep the product as a gift and we can just let this collaboration go. That is, in so many words, telling a creator that it is the brand dictating what I do or nothing. There's no collaboration in how she was speaking to me. And that is the most frustrating part of being a creator. I love being a creator and I love the work I get to do, and I'm so thankful for it. But there comes a time where these really stressful and really uncomfortable conflicts happen with brands where I have to decide what I'm willing to withstand and what I'm willing to walk away from. But in this specific instance, I was extremely frustrated and extremely stressed out because when she threatened to completely nix the entire brand collaboration, and mind you, it was supposed to be a 2-month brand collaboration. So it was a good amount of money. I won't even lie. And that's important for me to be honest about that right here in this storytelling, because that is where my stress came from. Me feeling that there was an amount of money that was allotted to me that I was guaranteed from doing this collaboration that is now being taken away from me. And that is stressful. That goes into obviously money stress and thinking that there is a scarcity mindset. This collaboration is gone. Okay, well, I'm stressed now because where is that money now going to come from? I feel this emptiness and I feel this lack of abundance. And how I have to reframe that scenario. First off, if this brand is not willing to compromise in the ways that are very normal and within bounds for any creator, then they are not the brand for me. I have to forego this collaboration and I have to be rest assured that I will find something bigger and better to replace that amount of money that I would have gotten from that brand collab. There has been so many times in this career that I have felt very stressed about money. Because at the end of the day, I am a freelancer. I am an independent contractor. Every single dollar that I earn is because I went out and forged it. Nobody is holding my hand. I'm not signed to an agency. This is me against the world. And with that comes a significant amount of stress. There's been so many sleepless nights that I have cried because I have thought that I cannot make it as a creator. I cannot make it in what I'm doing. I'm also in the most expensive city in the world, and I am trying to make it work. And I'm so thankful because I have made it work for the past 5 years, and that is something to be so fucking proud of, and I know that. But even now, 5 years in, I still have that unfortunate survival mode in a lot of respects where every single brand collab that falls through or that doesn't make it to the finish line, that scares the shit out of me. But then I really have to reframe my thinking. And I want you to also reframe your thinking if you have also been in a situation where money has stressed you out. I want you to think to yourself, first off, identifying where that stress comes from, where the root of it is. I just told you where my root of it is. Understand where your root of your money stress is. And then we have to flip the script. There are more opportunities at our disposal. We are thinking very narrow-minded because we are thinking of the here and now. But if we look up and look around, there are so many other resources and there are so many other ways that we can make up that money and honestly exceed it in other ways. We always have to remember that whatever is happening right now in our temporary distress is because it was supposed to happen. And I know that is also hard to hear sometimes, but all of the most negative things that have ever happened to me have elicited a more positive response almost right after. It's almost like a shedding of what you're not supposed to be going through to make way for the things that you're supposed to take in your life. When I started to reframe my brain in that way, that changed the entire game for me. It allowed me to understand that I have so much more capable in me, and I'm not going to let my temporary grievances and my temporary environment hold me back from all of the good and all of the acceleration I can have in my life. All the success, all the opportunities are literally for me to take. I just have to be willing to pull myself out of this temporary stress. The second stressor in my life that I've been going through is with insurance. This is going in tandem of my career and being a freelancer and independent contractor. With this field, I do not have the safety net or the umbrella of corporate insurance. If you've been here since the beginning, and if you know me in YouTube and just in general, you know that I was in corporate for 3.5 years. With corporate, it really did feel like a safety net. It felt like I had this umbrella of security with health insurance. And I'll be honest, I do miss that a lot of the time. And I especially miss that in times like this. I have been so stressed out about finding new insurance. I have new insurance now, and I think now I can comfortably talk about it. In the thick of it, I was really scared. I needed insurance for physical therapy. I have dropped some little hints in the past few episodes now about how I will be starting physical therapy. That is what I've been talking about for a bit now. And it's been deferred for 2.5 months because of insurance. Certain insurances I don't qualify for, or certain insurances are way too damn expensive. It has been really, really, really tough. And it has been really, really, really stressful to go through every day feeling hopeless because I know that I need something in the health realm, and the way to get it is through insurance, and dealing with insurance is the biggest bitch in the world. If you know, you know, and I know a lot of people do know this and can sympathize with this, but I felt backed into a corner. Back in October, I thought that everything was good with the insurance I did pick. I was actually told by the representative that everything I needed my insurance for would suffice. And then I was essentially slapped in the face with that not being the case. And I broke down that day. That day was a really hard day. And I actually vlogged that day about how stressed I was. I'll link that vlog in the description of this podcast episode. That day was one of the shittiest days I've had so far this year. I felt so hopeless and I felt so sad and mad. I felt like I didn't know where to turn. I knew that I needed to get physical therapy, and I knew that I needed to start it sooner rather than later so that I can start rehabbing my knee to start getting back into running, because your girl is running the New York City Marathon next year. I am qualified. I am running that damn marathon. So you can already infer that the stress was very high during this past month, and all I wanted was the resources to get through it. I had to wait till the beginning of November to get new insurance. I was on the phone, kid you not, for 4.5 hours with the insurance to make sure to triple, quadruple check that everything I need coverage for will be covered with this new insurance. Thankfully. So now I'm starting physical therapy officially in December, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful that I do have the means to make sure that I can pay for the insurance that will cover what I needed to. That is a blessing, and I never take that for granted. And also, I'm thankful that I didn't let the temporary stress in October completely break me and turn me off from doing anything about this. And that's one thing about me. If I'm super stressed out and I'm crying and I'm really sad, I shut down. And I can't see a way through it immediately. But then I take a step back. I let myself cry and I let myself be sad and mad and pissed off. And then I know that I have to pivot. And I know that I have to get through it one way or another, and I have to pull myself out of the negativity, which is effectively what I did. I let myself be all of October. Right at the beginning of November, I called the insurance. I was first in line and I had a very long call with them, but I sorted it out. At the end of the day, we are so much more capable than we think. Even though I was so stressed out about my current circumstance, I knew that nothing was going to stop me or hold me back from getting my shit done. It was a long fucking call, but I got it done. Now I have insurance, and now we can just move forward. The next stressor I would like to discuss with you all. This past week, I was so sick. And when I say so sick, I don't want to freak you guys out. I didn't have a fever. I wasn't coughing up a lung. I was having a bout of the common cold. I know so many people understand this. When you are sick, you get stressed out. You get stressed out about all the things that you know that you need to do, but you physically cannot because your body is telling you to stop. to rest. I have a very hard time resting. I'm a very high functioning individual in all areas of my life. With high functioning individuals, it is very hard for us to slow down because we take slowing down as a weakness when it is literally the exact opposite. We fear it rather than welcome it. And honestly, in this past week, because I was sick and I could not see my friends, I couldn't do a lot of activity, I couldn't go to the gym, I couldn't do a lot of things that make me feel stable and make me feel normal. I had to just sit and reflect and rest. This past week really taught me a lot about myself. I actually used it as fuel to improve in a part of my life that I really wanted to challenge myself and see it through. So I decided to read 3 books in a week. I vlogged it for YouTube. Actually, by the time that this podcast episode goes up, that vlog will already be up as well. I will also link that down below. Really enjoyed the week and how I reframed my sickness and how I reframed something seemingly negative. I took a stress that I had, but I brought life into it, enjoyed myself in a very specific way that I've been wanting to for a very long time. And I also proved to myself that I can do something that I didn't think I could. And those are all wins to me. Another component of life I have been stressed about: my computer. These are for the YouTube subscribers who have been there for at least a year, maybe even 2. But these are for the people who have really been there for a while. So if you are listening to this and you've been there for a while, I think you already know the saga about my laptop. But for the new people on the pod, I've had my current laptop, which is the one I'm using right now as I'm recording this episode. I've had my laptop for almost 5.5 years. I got my laptop August of 2020. I bought it myself. I was so proud of buying my laptop. I knew that this was my big girl laptop and it was what I was going to use for work and also to really embark on my content creation career. I use it every single day for not only emails, use it for editing. This laptop is my world. It actually is. I could not do anything without it. This happened a few months ago, and then it also re-happened a few days ago. So let's go back to a few months ago. I was in the middle of editing a very long vlog. I know that I mention my vlogs quite often on this podcast, and it's because, like I've said, my vlogs and my podcast literally go hand in hand. They work in tandem to really paint the entire picture of my life and who I am and all of these experiences. You can see them probably visually on YouTube, and then with YouTube, I hint to things that I go into detail on my podcast. So if you love the podcast, you should definitely be subscribed to my YouTube channel and vice versa. But back to the story, I was editing a vlog and it was a long vlog. It was over an hour long. And I was also editing it around 8:30, 9 p.m. on a Saturday. This was earlier this year. I remember it was a Saturday because I upload on Sundays. I was editing this vlog around 9 p.m. and it was almost done. And my laptop just shut down. It completely shut down. But before it shut down, it was doing this roar with the fan in the laptop and it just shut down. And I was freaking out. I couldn't turn it on. I started crying. I was panicking. I was so stressed out. Your girl spent probably 17, 18 hours cumulatively on this vlog. It was like an hour long. It took so long to craft it and edit it and all the things and export it. And then my laptop just shut down. Mind you, I've been told by the Apple staff a handful of times that through my line of work, they have suggested to upgrade my laptop. They've suggested it for a very long time because of the amount of RAM I'm using and all of the gigs of all of these huge files I am rendering. I need a more powerful laptop. And again, mind you, I got this laptop 5 years ago. That was at the beginning of everything I was doing. I didn't really even start YouTube back then. Now that my career has evolved and being a content creator has evolved, I have seen that I've been pushing the limit with my laptop. I really, really have. There has been a lot of times where there's a lot of files I work with and I'm scared for my laptop's life. I just don't know if my laptop can really withstand what I'm doing and what I'm putting it through. So that was a clear example of my laptop hit its limit and I panicked and I ran over to the 24-hour Apple store, which is on 5th Ave. I was at the Apple store until 1 a.m. that Saturday night. And technically that's Sunday early morning, fixing my laptop and making sure that the file that I had been working on wasn't lost. And they were able to recover it. They once again told me, you need a stronger laptop. This is your warning. You need a stronger laptop. I remember leaving that Apple store again at 1 a.m. in tears, happy tears because I didn't lose my document, but also I am putting so much stress on myself to make sure I am hitting my marks on YouTube and making sure that I'm hitting the goals I'm setting for myself with uploading every Sunday, but understanding as well that the vehicle to which I'm able to even do YouTube, which is this laptop, this needs to be improved. I need a new laptop. I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because laptops are fucking expensive, as we know. And yes, before anyone says anything, I understand this is a tax write-off. Of course, once I buy one, it's a tax write-off. I am a little stubborn and I am trying to make it work for as long as I can. I am crossing fingers that I will be able to get a new laptop very soon. Until then, I'm really just trying to mitigate my own stress. I'm really just trying to make sure that I am putting methods in place that won't leave me in those specific scenarios again. So I've been front loading my editing rather than leaving it until the day before I know that I'm uploading on YouTube to save that stress, editing in chunks rather than editing from start to finish, which I have done in the past. And editing for upwards of 8-9 hours in one sitting is a lot on your laptop. And yes, once I get a bigger and better laptop, I can do that with ease. But right now, with the laptop parameters I have, I really just need to be more conscious about how I'm using it. And that will suffice for the time being. There are ways that I'm clocking that I need to change the way I work, change my workflow, and change how I'm showing up in a work setting to be able to lessen my stress. All right, now we're doing a little hard pivot, but I did want to talk about the stressors that men give us. If it was just us girlies, I think the world would be a better place, to be honest, but it's not. And we have guys every which way being stupid and stressing us out. And I really wanted to talk about some red flags that I've encountered, and I know other people have obviously encountered with men that are inherent stressors. Men who love bomb you, men who honestly treat you poorly, be rude to you, be rude to your friends, rude to your family, men who are horrible communicators and essentially ghost you and then hit you up again randomly and then ghost you again. This really toxic cycle. And those are just a few of my top red flags in men, but I've experienced a very long-standing history, unfortunately, with seeing red flags in guys and trying to fix it rather than knowing that I can just walk away. I don't need to exist in that space and I don't need to put up with bullshit. I can just walk away. If you've been in a situation with a guy, boyfriend, a situationship, whatever, you see yourself going through this really negative cycle and this negative pattern of behavior with them because of what they're doing. It's always truly what they are doing and what they are imparting on you and your space. You need to take a step back, understand how you can mitigate those stressors. Obviously, the biggest and easiest and most obvious one is just to walk away from that person, that relationship. But sometimes it's not that easy, and I understand. I mean, I guess we all are always in the position to do that. I'd say do that. But another thing is mute them, block them. The block button is there for a reason. I have completely cut ties with guys who have just stressed me out so much and won't leave me alone. I just block them. I block their number, I block them on social media, and it's like they never existed. And yes, that is some savage advice, and I understand that, but it's also really rude and disrespectful when guys don't take no for an answer and when guys try to take up space in your life when they have no business being in it. So honestly, is it savage or is it just protecting your peace? You tell me. And then the last stressor I want to talk about for this episode is internet bullying. I've been a creator on the internet, as I've already mentioned, for over 5 years. I have been through my own fair share of internet bullying, people just being flat out rude on the internet to me, towards my content, towards who I am, and really nitpicking in ways that are so out of pocket. It is crazy. It's such disgusting behavior. Towards the earlier years of me in this career, I was very, very bothered by it. And I chalked that up to being just a very emotional person. I feel a lot of things very deeply. So yeah, When people are mean, I feel that very deeply. And it's hard for me to navigate negative people and negative comments when I always think, why do people do this? Why do people act this way? But then I have to remember, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I cannot control how other people act. I really can't. All I can control is how I react to them. And there's so many times where, yes, I've been combative. I am a combative bitch when I feel I want to. It's really a touch and go. There's no handbook to it. If I feel like standing up for myself, I'm going to stand the fuck up for myself. But there are a lot of times where I also clock and realize so clearly that there are so many people who do not deserve any ounce of me. I'm wasting my breath if I'm even engaging at that point. I always like to pick and choose my battles. There are battles that I will gladly fight. There are also battles that I do not at all need to entertain. And you have to assess that for yourself as well. Ask yourself if there's any time that you've ever felt snide remarks from other people or have just felt that you've been treated very rudely or disrespected by someone else. And this goes beyond just the internet. If this happens in person, you feel that because you're a human being. You feel that negativity and you feel that disrespect, and it is hurtful in a lot of ways. And you're human for feeling an emotion and a reaction towards someone being rude. Hello, of course. But you have to assess which battles are worth your fight and which ones you just have to let go, because there is peace in letting it go. I find that a lot of my stress has stemmed from me feeling like I need to fight every damn battle, and that's not the case. That's just untrue. There are battles that I do need to fight, but there are a lot of battles I don't. A lot of my stress has been taken away by me choosing my peace rather than choosing the fight. Okay, and so here are some takeaways that I want you to think about for this episode and how you can really apply a lot of the experiences I just detailed to your life directly. Something I love doing is saying affirmations. I literally look up affirmations on Pinterest almost every single day. Kid you not. I love starting my day with affirmations or looking up affirmations specifically when I feel stressed out. Before this episode, I thought, okay, let me just look at Pinterest and see what comes up. So many things came up around abundance mindset, being more positive in your day-to-day. There's a ton of things. What I want you to do is go on Pinterest after you listen to this episode and type in affirmations for stress. Literally just type that in. You will see so many. Pinterest will populate so many affirmations that will help you in all the stressful times that you're in. That was a very general one, but you can make it very, very, very specific. You can type in very specific stressors that you're experiencing, and Pinterest, again, will populate affirmations. And what I like to do when I have the affirmations in front of me is read them out loud. I literally hold up my phone and read them out loud to myself. A lot of them are written in I statements, which is perfect because when you are saying it about yourself, you believe it more than anything else. I am strong. I am capable. I am positive. I am friendly, this, that, and the other. It helps your brain see everything in a more optimistic light. Optimism helps with stress. Once we are more happy about our day-to-day and once we're able to think in a more positive manner, the stress just dissipates. It just does. Next is take inventory of your environment. And I'm talking about all the environments that you have. Your home, your sleep, your mental and physical health, your relationships, every single one of those, you have to take inventory of all of it. If you're not sleeping very well, that's a huge, huge, huge reason why you are stressed. I know that firsthand. In a chaotic living situation will inherently make you stressed. I'm talking about both having a messy environment, clothes on the floor, food everywhere, you don't clean up for yourself. That's one side of it. But then also, if you are in a chaotic living situation, if your roommates are stressing you out, if your partner is stressing you out, those things all play into your stress level. So you have to take inventory of all of those situations and see what you can improve on so that you live a stress-free life. Your environment in stress also calls on your friendships. You have to take note about who's in your life and are they even good for you? And are they people who are adding to your stress or taking away from your stress? There's so many times in my past where I have walked away from a hangout with somebody who I thought was my friend, I would have this weird pit in my stomach and I would feel very drained. And those are very, very clear signs of stress as well. And those are signs that this person is actually not adding value into my life. They're actually detracting and they're actually part of why I'm stressed out. So you have to start to reevaluate your environment in all of the ways. I've said this a ton, but writing down how you feel is so important and very healthy. It's a very healthy outlet. A lot of us forget that our outlets don't have to be these huge monumentous things that we do. They can be everyday practices that are actually very fruitful and very helpful in the long run. And one thing about me is I write down everything that I feel all the time in my notes app or in my physical journal. And writing things down, especially when I feel stressed out, has effectively helped me be less stressed out. Something about putting pen to paper, but also if you're just writing on your phone, something about just jotting down what's in your brain. It takes it from being this lofty stressor that you feel is bigger than you. And when you write it on paper and then when you read it back, you're like, okay, well, yeah, I was stressed about it, but now I'm thinking it's actually not as stressful as I thought. So I can get through this. And that's why writing it down is so helpful. Another way to mitigate your stress is seeking out resources and venting. Venting is healthy. A lot of people think it's not. I think that's a misunderstanding here. A lot of people think that venting means that you're being negative, but venting is actually a really good way to relieve stress. And specifically here, I want to touch on calling somebody who you care about, somebody who is always in your corner and someone who you really trust. It's really important to remember that we want to feed into the people who we are inspired by. Ultimately, we care about their opinion, seek advice from them and seek solace from them and seek comfort from those people. That will always leave you feeling way better than how you started. Like I said at the very beginning of this episode, you must remember that stress is temporary. It always is. It always will be temporary. We go through different stressors in our life, of course, but each and every stress you do come across is temporary. And reminding yourself that on a day-to-day is the best way to relieve bouts of stress, but it is also the best way to live a healthier and more stress-free life. I hope these tips, tricks, and life experiences helps at least one person remember that you are not alone. Your stress is not all-consuming, and you absolutely can get through it. And with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Misunderstood. Remember to rate this show 5 stars on Apple and Spotify and follow it wherever you are listening. Join our Geneva group chat. It is always linked in the description of every single podcast episode. Leave a question on our jot form that is also linked in the description of every single podcast episode. Hang out with me on my other socials, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest at NK Madani. And I will talk to you guys in my next one.